All right, so I'm back, and first and foremost, I want to apologize everybody to the delay in videos this week. I got the MMC Ravage in. I got the Fans Toys Kickback in. I actually got two copies of them in. One I bought for me, and one I bought for the reviews. The one I bought for me, I had that one about 2 weeks now, but the arm broke off, so I couldn't review him just yet. So I got those other two in. Was planning on putting those out Thursday, Friday, because those are the giveaway figures, so I can announce the winners. Unfortunately, I had jury duty on Thursday, as some people know, and then I got selected. It wasn't just like, oh, summons and you go there and do stuff. It was, I got selected for jury duty, and then, so I had to sit there, and that's how I spent all day Thursday, all day Friday. I was released Friday night, and then I had to go straight to work, of course, and then came home, went to bed, got up, went back to work. Just got off work, so we're gonna do the viewer responses for Apocalypse today, a new Rant of the Week for tomorrow, and then Monday we'll do Ravage. Tuesday will be Kickback. Wednesday will be the comparison video between the Bad Cube and the Fans Toys, since we have them all now. Although that's going to be a kind of a short video, I think. And then Nero Rex should be in here real soon, so we'll start him as soon as I can. Also, I'm getting a lot of requests to do the Toy World Grimlock, so I got to get him in there somewhere, and then start the Fans Toy or the Toy World Dinobots, and it's gonna be a busy week, a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, busy month, I think. Anyway, so let's get on to the Rant of the Week viewer responses for my X-Men Apocalypse review. So let's go right into it. Band Oogie Mans, I think. Damn, John, I highly regard your opinion on toys, but man, you're losing points with me here with the movie review, LOL. I don't think it's quite as bad as some may think, but it's meh to me. Very run-of-the-mill, more of the same Singer stuff. I can understand where you're coming from. Like I said in the review, I mean, it's not everyone's going to have the same opinion on this one. Some people loved it, some people liked it, some people hated it, and it's just been all over the board with that one. Same, like I said, same with Batman v Superman. Some people love that movie. I hated that movie. So, I mean, it's up and down. Civil War, I think, pretty much is consistent around the board that everybody loved it. But yeah, I could definitely see where you're coming from. It's just, another X-Men movie. And yes, I know I'm supposed to clean the shelves off. Everyone keeps telling me to do it. It's on the agenda, but as you can tell, I'm a little bit busy. Been a little busy again. Always busy. All right. Mav DJ says, "I'm so tired of the shitty thing happening to Magneto, so he can be miserable and pissed off again. And Charles and Mystique turning him back scenes. Yeah, that's getting old. We already know he has a fucked up past and really don't need much more character development for him. Where we did need it was for the other Horsemen, whose intentions were not detailed at all. So were they brainwashed, mind controlled? It was never really explained or felt like it. Yeah, I can understand where you come from there. I would have loved to see a little bit more backstory on them, as opposed to Magneto again, and going back to the school, and seeing where Xavier's doing and all that stuff. It's like I want to focus on the next story. That's one of the problems with X-Men stories in general. as far as I've ever seen, is because they have a rotating cast. They got to focus on the new good guys that are coming into the fold. It's like, that's why I loved the 90s cartoon so much, was because it's like, here's the cast, we'll focus on them, get their backstories, and then we'll be able to focus more on the villains and move forward with that. Even in the 90s, the cast in the comics rotated quite a bit. But in the cartoon, it was the same cast the entire time. So yeah, I can see where you come from with that. I would have liked more in depth with the Four Horsemen. Why was Archangel, who is from a millionaire family, a pit fighter? Well, I don't think they ever actually called him Warren. Just Angel. So it might not. I mean, if you look at the timeline in the movies, Warren Worthington III, who's Angel in the X-Men 3 movies, was a kid. This one was a kid as well, but clearly not young enough to be the same kid in the third X-Men, Last Stand. So perhaps it's just a different Angel with wings, because I mean, if you got wings like that, you're probably going to go by a codenamed Angel, right? I mean, it's kind of, and that is actually the third Angel in the series so far, because I think the girl with the tattooed wings, butterfly wings, was Angel too. So yeah, if you actually look at the timeline, it doesn't add up. So maybe it's not him. Maybe it's just a different guy with wings. Who knows? Why couldn't he get out and fly out of the plane? Don't know on that one. He has wings, for fuck's sake. What were Psylocke and Storm's stories and motivations? Why was Jubilee even in the movie? Mystique was a joke. I didn't like Mystique turning into an X-Men. I didn't. And Archangel, I mean, you see him cut through a bunch of metal earlier on. He should have been able to just slice right through the Blackbird or the jet and fly to safety. But I mean, like I said, I love the movie. That doesn't mean that there aren't flaws in the movie, and I can't agree with flaws, but I absolutely love the movie. That doesn't change my opinion on the movie, just in case you guys are wondering. The film did not need that extensive shoehorned in Weapon X scene. Wolverine just had to come out to please casual fanboys. That's good time wasted that could have been used to further develop other Horsemen or X-Men. That's the one thing I will have to say I loved about the movie, was because having him come out there not only sets the seeds for the him and Jean Grey romance later on, but also, more importantly, it officially reboots the rest, whatever's left over of X-Men Origins Wolverine. Without it, and here's my theory on this, but without it actually saying it never happened. It's a fine line here, because with the Weapon X program, you see it a lot of times in the cartoon and in the comics, where he's got conflicting backstories, where it's like, here he was doing this, but at the same time he's supposed to be doing this at the other side of the planet or something like that. It's like lots of conflicting background, and the reason for that is because when he had the mind control device on his head, they were implanting memories into him. They were erasing memories, planting new memories, and then they would plant more new memories. So some of the stuff he remembers didn't actually happen, and some of the things that happened he doesn't remember. They just completely crisscrossed his brain. So like the X-Men Origins, I like to think, was all implanted into his mind. The whole movie, from start to finish, it's all just completely implanted into his brain, and that's what he thinks happened. But what actually happened was he got captured after Days of Future Past, got turned into Weapon X, and he got reprogrammed into the Wolverine. and then got let loose by the X-Men. So it's like, for me, I like that because I liked X-Men Origins Wolverine. It's the worst one, or second worst of the series, don't get me wrong, but I did like that movie. Especially the Sabretooth. I like that demographic there. But anyway, moving on. But yeah, it's like, I like it. I kind of wished it was not canon because it didn't make sense with the rest of the stories. And now it is not canon, but in my mind, I'm going to excuse that as like not a reboot, but that's just how they programmed it. Moving on. Oscar Isaac did the best he could with what he was given, but it was not enough convincing or menacing as it needed to be. It really sucks that Apocalypse didn't really have much action other than in Xavier's mind. He should have turned giant outside in the real world, and the only other action he had was getting his ass kicked by a fucking overpowered Quicksilver. Yeah, for like half a second until he figured out how to stop Quicksilver. So I've always liked Apocalypse as the background villain. You know, just kind of like, when he does throw down, he throws down. But, you know, I don't think he's one of those ones that actually goes to arms as often as Magneto or Sinister or, you know, all the other X-Men villains. I think he more or less just kind of sits back and relaxes. That's my thought. I liked how they did him. I do wish he would have changed size in the real world, but perhaps he didn't have that power yet. You know, maybe he's waiting to. Maybe he just hasn't come across that, because it's not just that he didn't do it in the fight. He never did any kind of shape shifting anywhere in the movie, or mass shifting anywhere in the movie. So perhaps it was just because he didn't have the power yet. And I don't honestly believe he's dead, so I think he'll be back at some point. But yeah. The Quicksilver scene wasn't as great as the first. True. Yeah, they just kind of rehashed the same thing. But I still enjoyed it. It was nothing new and totally ruined the gravity of the situation when he has time to moonwalk, but no time to save Havoc. They could have picked a way better song. The choice of the Eurythmics song was really odd and did not fit the scene at all. But it's a good song. That's all I can say about that. It's a good song, and it was popular at that time. I think that's more what they were going for, was something popular at the time that he was probably listening to. Because whenever he starts doing the speed, he puts on his headphones and he's listening. At least I know he did that in Days of Future Past. So I'll have to watch X-Men again, or Apocalypse again, see if he did that. But normally he's like listening to music, and it's more like, I take it more as like, this is not the song of the scene. It's more of a song that he's just listening to while he's doing something. My thoughts on that. As far as the saving Havoc seat part, when you first see him get to the main part of the explosion and he starts grabbing people, Havoc's already engulfed in the fireball, so he didn't see him. So it's not that he had time to do the moonwalk and not save Havoc. It's the fact that Havoc was already dead by the time he got there. So yeah, I like this film, but also hate it. At least it was better than Batman v Superman. That is very true on so many levels. From the trailers, I thought this looked better than Civil War, and turned out to be the other way around. Winter Soldier is still my favorite of the new era comic book movies. My all-time favorite is still Blade. And Bandu Oogie Man's replied to him saying, great point about Havoc. I love the Blade movies. They're the first two. Not the third one. Never the third one. Just, no. Moving on. Sammy Turnage says, hey John, we live in a golden age of comic book movies. X-Men Apocalypse, in my opinion, was perfect. I loved every minute of that movie, and if you know, the character Apocalypse can return. Spoiler warning. The end of the movie where Jean Grey unleashes the power of the Phoenix was jaw-dropping. She annihilated him. What was the single best scene in any movie for a longest time was John McClane in Die Hard when he kills Hans and says "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker." He blocks out the fucker part, but I don't censor myself. The Phoenix part in X-Men Apocalypse beats that. I'll disagree with you. I still like that. I still love the Die Hard scene. That's my Christmas movie. Every Christmas I watch the Die Hard trilogy. I just have the trilogy. I don't have all 5. Fourth one was okay. Fifth one was... There's a dead franchise. And I don't think she could have annihilated him if it wasn't for the fact that he was also trying to focus fighting Xavier in his mind, and Jean Grey in his mind, Magneto, Cyclops, all at the same time. And then Storm came in. I think that's the only way Jean was able to do anything. But hopefully we'll see more of that. I gave X-Men Apocalypse 10 out of 10. Batman v Superman 7 out of 10. Still really, really enjoyed it. Deadpool 7.5 out of 10. Captain America Civil War 8.5 out of 10. I have never given any movie until now a perfect score. I was really worried that they would screw up one of the X-Men's greatest villains, but they didn't. X-Men Apocalypse was a masterpiece. I just hope we don't have to wait long for the next X-Men movie. Oh, and I love the 90s X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons. I have very high hopes for the franchise and hope we see Apocalypse again after a while. I hope we see him too, and I've always had hopes for the X-Men franchise, and those hopes really took a beating on the Last Stand, followed by X-Men Origins, and it's just like, I don't know if I could do more of these movies. And First Class was the thing that brought me back into it. It's like, all right, we could do this. We got potential again. But yeah, those 2 movies were just dreadful. Like I said, I enjoyed X-Men Origins Wolverines, but I didn't really... it's no good movie. It's a decent... it's a decent movie. I like it, but it's not a masterpiece or anything like that. And I hope we see Apocalypse again too. I think Singer's out, so I hope we get a new director that can continue on with this current story arc and not just try and reboot the franchise. That would fucking suck. And I hope they branch out, like the Marvel properties branched out. They started branched out and then they focused on Avengers. But I hope we see more single movies. More Deadpool. A Cable movie would be great. That would be a great place to bring Apocalypse back. Gambit. I know they keep saying, oh, we're doing a Gambit movie, and then they're like, we're not doing it. Stuff like that. I think they could make a whole bunch more X-Men movies to come out more on a regular basis. Like the Marvel movies, I mean, we're getting 4 or 5 every year now, something like that, 3 to 5 every single year, and that would be a lot better to get more X-Men stories, is to tell different individual stories, and that would also help flesh out certain characters without having to focus it in the big X-Men movies. And then we could also do X-Force, X-Factor, Generation X. Those are the other big 3 that I remember that I enjoyed. Let's see. Frank M. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. Metallica is my all-time favorite band too. Metallica rules. I love the old X-Men cartoon too. It's what started me on X-Men. Yep. I think what started me on X-Men was actually some toys. X-Men toys that I had gotten somehow. And then it's like, I want to know more about this. And then I started watching the cartoon. It's like, ooh, I want to know more about this. So I started reading some of the comics. It's like, ooh, this is good. Tom White, Survivor 123, says, John, the only issue I had with the movie was the arrow in the woods. Otherwise, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the Magneto scene there was very well thought out, and it works very well. But at the same time, I do wish it was like in a different movie, like a Magneto story. Let's do Magneto's story, and then at the end have his wife and daughter get killed, and then that could lead him into the Apocalypse story. I don't. Like I said, it's like I'm tired of Magneto being the villain hero in these stories. I kind of want to see a movie without him entirely, and then just kind of go from there. But Dark Convoy Review says, I enjoyed the movie. I did have a few issues with the Angel uniform and the girl they picked to play Jean Grey. She just looked too old. I loved Nightcrawler. The Wolverine scene was meh. Still a good movie, and we'll buy it when it comes out. I kind of want more of Psylocke. And since she's lived and ran off, I would like to see see what happens with that. I thought the Angel's uniform was alright. I love the metal wings. Those looked cool. Nightcrawler, I liked him because he looked like a younger version of the Nightcrawler we had from the X-Men 2 movie. So that was cool. And, you know, again, they're messing up with the timeline because now he's an X-Men in the 80s, and they don't just find him randomly in the 2000s. So it'd be kind of cool to see if they could continue on with his story. And I want to see when Colossus comes in, because the Deadpool Colossus is the one I want to see more of. Jeff Pern says, got the same feels from the Archangel scene. If I remember right, Angel got his wings damaged during the Mutant Massacre. I don't know if it was the Mutant Massacre, but I do know he got it damaged. And then Hodge amputated them. Yep. I also like the Apocalypse battles taking place in his mind growing in size. Called that one from the trailer. Yeah, me too. As well as defending on the field. But I was a little disappointed with costumes. Archangel mix. Should have lost the curly hair and got the blue skin, yeah. Maybe too many blue people, probably. Beast in the outfit, what's wrong with him not just wearing some shorts? Yeah, that's one thing that's been bothering me for the last 3 movies, is Beast. I don't want to see him human form. I'm sure it's just because the actors, one of those actors that's like, I want to have my face on the screen or whatever. But it's like, I want to see Beast be Beast, and I want to see Mystique be Mystique. I don't want Mystique to be like, oh, this is my human form, and I'm not proud to be a mutant anymore, even though she's always been proud to be a mutant. And then Beast, it's like just embracing his heritage now, because there's nothing else he can do about it. I mean, he's blue. He's blue and furry. That's the Beast I want to see. I don't want to see random guy who's like, oh, I forgot to take my meds and now I'm Beast again. It's like, well, what happened? What would have happened had he been able to take his meds and then we got to the final scene? Would he be able to go out there and fight? Because the meds are blocking out his mutant ability. So he would have just stood there. I mean, not that he did much anyway, but I mean, seriously, would he not have been able to fight? That's not necessarily a problem with this movie. It's just with how it's been going with the Beast character. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. How come they couldn't hire a bodybuilder that can frown a lot for Apocalypse? I liked Oscar Isaac because Apocalypse, he's more than just a big, intimidating figure. He's the calm, collected teacher, and that was always one of his powers, is that he'd be able to sway people with just the way he would talk, and he'd be able to, convince people to come with him and see his point of view. He's just a master at just that form of speech, and I think Oscar Isaac did that very well. If you would have got somebody like say Guardians of the Galaxy, Batista, who would have been big and, it's like, okay, I'm not intimidated by that. That's, I've always been more intimidated by the soft-spoken guys. It's just kind of like, that's the one to look out for. I enjoyed villains like, like I said, Apocalypse, and it's cool because Apocalypse can turn into the big bad guy. But like, yeah, just the soft-spoken ones. It's like Juggernaut. I like Juggernaut, but it's like, he's a one-trick pony. He smashes stuff. I'd love to see a real Juggernaut in one of these movies. Wouldn't you guys? I mean, a real, true Juggernaut. Not the one we got from X-Men 3, which I barely count as real. I mean, that was bad. That was stupid. Anyway, okay. On a different note, Jean's powers. The Phoenix is a cosmic entity, not just her powers manifestation. The cartoon did a fairly good job in adapting the comic version. Just those tiny grapes are all you'll get from me. Other than that, I enjoyed it too. Seen it 6 times now. Wow, you've seen it more than me. Yeah, I think probably I don't know how they'll do a Phoenix Saga if they do a Phoenix Saga, a true Phoenix Saga. Maybe they could say the powers were cosmic and they came in when she was young, and they've just been hibernating in her. And now that she awoken the powers, maybe that will summon the Shi'ar Empire. That's the way I'd probably play it. Or maybe they're gonna go with it's just part of her power, and I don't know. I would prefer it the way I thought, but I mean I would prefer it the way they do it in the cartoon or the comics. But what can we do? They needed something to fight Apocalypse at the end. It's like, well, what do we got? We got Cyclops. We got Xavier. We could use Phoenix. Okay. Quentin Tabaru. Quentin. Nice insight. Thanks, John. You're welcome. Thank you. Mav DJ says, I enjoyed the scene where Archangel got his wings with the Metallica song too. But it just didn't really make sense that his son of a millionaire is a drunken pit fighter. LOL. Like I said, I mean, we don't know. Maybe that's not him. Anyway. My favorite scene from the movie was when, spoilers, Magneto's family died and he hugged them crying, "My babies." It was a powerful scene to me. Like I said, it's like I'm done with the Magneto story. I think that was a good story, and I think it should have been fleshed out a little bit more in his own movie. Maybe it could have led to the Asteroid M or something like that. I don't think it was necessary for this one. But I mean, whatever. It is what it is. Overall, movie brought me back to the 90s cartoon. It really seemed like an episode from the show. Story was too simple for me, but all the Easter eggs were cool as hell. I didn't like how Apocalypse looked, especially his Bono boots. Overall, to me, Days of Future Past is my top X-Men movie so far. This one, I'll put it at my third now, just for the fact that it brought me back to the 90s animated show. Looking forward to the 90s movie. Here's hoping Apocalypse is still looking around in Charles' head. Now, what was I going to say there? My big thing that's keeping Days of Future Past to being equal to Apocalypse was the Sentinels. I did not like the way the Sentinels looked, especially the futuristic ones. I hated that. I hated that metallic gimmick when it was in X-Men, or when it was in Age of Extinction. When the Decepticons would transform and they'd turn into like the little plates and just, you'd hear ting 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 ting, and they'd transform like that. I hated that. I hated it. It was in the Sentinels for Days of Future Past. I absolutely detest that. It was cool that they're absorbing the mutants' powers and utilizing them against each other or against them, but it's just that I don't like that. I don't. you know, it'd be cool if like one of them had that kind of power and the rest of them looked like the I want to see classic 90s cartoon and comics Sentinels stomping around the battlefield. I know we saw them in the 70s, but they were almost there. And then there was the ones at the end of Apocalypse that they're having in the training camp. It's like, still, it's almost there, but it's not quite there. But I just want to see those big, like 2-3 story tall Sentinels stomping around and just attacking in the swarms, because the Sentinels are my top 10 favorite X-Men villains of all time. Not just one of them, just like the swarm of Sentinels that would, just fly out of nowhere and just kick the shit out of things. All right, Kevin Horn says, I know everyone has their own opinion, and I didn't like the first TMNT, but you should check out the second one. It's 10 times better. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm leaning towards I need to go see that eventually. The Duke 013, they should do Savage Lands next. I would love to see Savage Lands. I think, I wish that Hugh Jackman is just he's now the Wolverine, so it's hard. I can't say we should recast Wolverine, because he's so embedded into the series now. Otherwise, I would love to see like just Wolverine, like one of his stories, go to the Savage Lands. Maybe we could do a Kazar, or maybe a Cyclops movie by himself. I think the X-Men franchise, like when the X-Men are together, I don't think the Savage Lands is important enough. Don't get me wrong, I love the Savage Land, but I don't think it's important enough for them to do that, and that would be a huge budget too, because we're talking dinosaurs and all that stuff. I think it needs to be like a solo film from somebody else, like a side story. Because, it's like, how many more X-Men movies do you think we're going to get? What stories do you think are the most important to tell now rather than later? It's like, I want to see, the Shi'ar Empire, a true Phoenix saga. I would like to see Juggernaut. We could save Juggernaut for, like, Colossus. I would like to see the Brood. I would like to see the Phalanx. Stuff like that and Sinister. I would like to see those. It's like, but Savage Lands, it's like, it's more like a plot device as opposed to moving the plot forward. And so then we're talking about, being there for a short period of time. And it's like, would they ever really do that for a short section of a movie? I wouldn't. Like I said, I'd like to see it, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. Paljo13. John, thank you. We actually have someone on YouTube telling people to use their own minds to determine if they enjoy a movie instead of acting like their opinion is the only one that counts. I enjoyed AOA and Batman v Superman, despite the bad reviews. I have my opinion on it, but yeah, it's like this is like I said at the beginning of this video, it's like this is one of those movies where it's just like you're not gonna get everyone on the same page right off the bat. It's not gonna happen. So it's like it's just one of those times. It's like Civil War. If I did a review on Civil War, I would say flat out it's a great movie, and everyone's gonna agree with me on that. But yeah, it's like this one. It's like I could tell. It's like I loved it, but I know not everybody would. Anyway, okay. Daltcore Toys and Stuff says, I haven't seen it yet, but I enjoyed your insight. I've been hearing a lot of negative. It's nice to see someone that isn't all negative about it. I'll give it my own view before deciding for myself. Thanks for sharing. All right, and that is it. And tomorrow I will have an actual rant of the week that involves Transformers. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. I haven't done that in a while, so I'll actually be doing a few in kind of like a line, but But yeah, that's the plan for tomorrow. And yeah, I guess that's it. So